Thank you so much for joining us today, McGarvey Black. We're so happy to have you on our channel, and we'd love to ask you some questions about your new book, The Baby I Stole, and of course about yourself. Would you like to start by introducing yourself to our viewers?
Sure. I'm McGarvey Black. I write thrillers and suspense stories, and I live in the United States, in Florida, but I am a born and raised New Yorker and spent most of my life up in New York and Connecticut and worked in the publishing industry.
Fantastic. Well, The Baby I Stole is out soon, and I was wondering what inspired you or what gave you the idea to write this book?
You know something, Tanuja, when I think I speak for most authors, when you come up with a book concept, you want to get something that will resonate with readers. And I've
Yes.
written on all sorts of topics. And the one thing that I thought, especially for women, was the bond between a mother and a child and a mother, and also having had many friends and including some family members who looked for alternative ways to have babies when they couldn't have them themselves. I was a firsthand witness to the pain, the angst, the disappointment that people went through for very long periods of time.
Yeah.
And I thought that that would be a really compelling concept and theme to use for this book.
I definitely think so. I mean, it comes across in the book, but also the mother-child bond is the strongest in the world, and I think everybody can relate to that at different levels.
I mean, whether you're a mother or even if you're a father or even if you're not a mother, you had a mother. And
Yeah,
so I mean everybody, a man or a woman can relate to what the characters in this book are going through.
yeah. It is quite a page turner, I have to say. And just apart from the bond itself, I think the characters are so fully present and they have such a presence in the book that you're taken aback with like, and you sort of start championing for them pretty early on in the book, like what's going to happen next and how they're going to do that. So it definitely comes across in the book. But before you started writing, you've had this amazing, successful, long career. You've worked in magazine publishing, you've done screenwriting, and I'm sure not many of your readers are aware of that. How has that amazing sort of part of your life informed and then like helped you transition to now your again another successful career of writing?
So believe it or not, it kind of fits with the theme of what we're talking about, but I have to owe it all to my mother. My mother was a big overachiever, and but she always taught us to try new things all the time, and that failure is just a stepping stone to success. And so
Yes.
I kind of approached my adult life and my career by trying new things. And I wasn't of the mind where I would start one thing and said, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. I did something for a few years and then I did that and I said, okay, well, let me try this. And so I started out as an actress and I was a singer in a
Wow.
band and I did a commercial and I tried out for Broadway plays. Sadly, Broadway did not want me. So I had to pivot. And the next best thing to maybe being on stage is being a salesperson because you're kind of on stage all the time. So I started working in advertising sales in magazines. And I worked for magazines like Outside Magazine, GQ, Allure, Lucky, Brides, Travel and Leisure, and a host of others, and spent a good chunk of time at Condé Nast and
Yeah.
really kind of fine-tuned my sales skills there and learned a tremendous amount of information. And as I mentioned before, that the Devil Wears Prada is a pretty well, it's a somewhat accurate depiction of what life was there then. I don't know what it's like now. I've been out for a while,
Yeah.
but it was a really fun, very glamorous limousines, big parties kind of existence. And
Yeah.
I did that. And then I transitioned into digital media when that started happening in the 90s. So I was in it pretty early. And then
Yeah.
I got married and had kids, and it was time for me to put the career a little bit to the side and be home. And so I shifted into executive recruiting so that I could work from home. And I did that for 10 years. And I recruited people in the internet company space. And I did that. And all the while I was doing that, I was writing. And so I was putting people in jobs and then writing a chapter and interviewing somebody and writing a chapter. And when I finally got to the point where I said, okay, I'm going to really try to do this and make a go of it. And that was about, 10 years ago.
Yeah. Wow. So it's been different position, one after the other, and you've kept pivoting the whole
Yeah, and I
time.
was doing some screenwriting. Nothing got picked up, although I shouldn't say that entirely. I did write a teen musical with two partners, and we did get some investors. We had $1 million, but we needed 3 million in order to get the green light, and we didn't get it. That was the end of that. But yeah, and I love writing. I hope I continue writing till I'm not here anymore.
Forever.
Forever. But you know what? I might do something else too. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, you seem unstoppable, but it brings me to my next question because there's people out there who would like to, well, either career hop or do writing as you do. And it's amazing, really paced, really engrossing writing that draws the reader in. Do you have any advice for other writers out there who are in your own field, who are writing books like you do, who are trying to break it into the market?
Yes, I definitely do. Because I can look back and see my path, and I can see things that were a waste of time and things that were not, and things that were really helpful. I think the biggest piece of advice I would ask, or two pieces. One, keep getting better and better at your writing. I mean, The Baby I Stole is my 9th published book. And each time I sit down to write a new book, I say to myself, you're going to make this better than the last. This is going to be better written, better sentence structure, better plot. I always want to get better and not just kind of sit where I am. That's
Yeah.
one thing. So keep improving your writing, and keep reading. That's important. And not only your genre, read everything. Because if you only read your genre, you just kind of get pigeonholed. I love literary fiction. I love nonfiction. I love
That's
it
so
all.
true. Yes. Yeah.
But the other piece, and this is, I think, the most crucial thing, and maybe this goes back to my years in sales, but I made it my business to learn everything I could about the book publishing business, how it works, how agents
Yeah.
work, how publishers work. All those little questions. What is a genre? How many words? I can't tell you how many times somebody will come to me and say, oh, I want to write a book, and they don't even know the basic stuff. And I think, geez, you could have just Googled that. That was so easy to find out.
Yeah.
And there's so many wonderful podcasts out there. One of them is Your First 15 Pages. I absolutely love that. And it was like 15 episodes or something like that. And it just gave you the nuts and bolts of how to write better. So my advice would be, if you want to write, if you want to be published, or even if you want to self-publish, learn as much as you can. Listen to podcasts on writing. Listen to podcasts on the publishing industry. Make yourself smart.
Yes, that is honestly the most practical advice because publishing is such a veiled industry for people who are on the outside, and it's so hard to understand just the simple process of how a manuscript turns into a book and what are the people in between who can help you get there. Thank you so much. That's really useful. I'm sure our viewers are going to appreciate that. But back to the fact that you said you read everything under the sun. I want to know, what do you enjoy reading? What was your last book or your favorite book, especially when you're not writing?
Okay, I'm just about finished with Lady Tan's Circle of Women by Lisa
Okay.
Bell, who also wrote The Tea Girl from Something Lane, which I love reading books about other countries, in particular Asia, because I've
Right.
traveled there. And so, because you've lived in other
Yes.
places,
Yes.
when you've visited a place, suddenly it becomes more interesting to you. So if there's a news story about some far-flung place, if you've never been there, you may not be that interested. But if you've been there, suddenly you're interested. So I've spent some time traveling in Asia. I love Asia. So I love reading books about it. But one of the books that I read about a year or so ago, which was actually quite a controversial book in the United States, at least, was called American Dirt. And
Oh,
I
yes. I
absolutely
remember.
Loved it. It was about a woman's journey from, I think, Mexico to trying to get into the United States with all the migration that's happening. And I found it riveting. So those kinds of books.
No, that is perfect. And like you said, whether you're reading or writing, you should read every other genre, not just your own. And I like that because I keep working on thrillers and psych thrillers and police procedurals, but then I'll go and read science fiction just to have
Yeah.
that mix. Yes.
Sort of cleanses the palate a bit,
Yeah,
right?
it does.
Yeah.
It does. The Baby I Stole is coming out soon this month. We're going to include all those links under this video so that you can pre-order it. You can order it on the day. But I would like to know, as we sign off, how are you going to celebrate Publication Day? What are your plans? What are you going to do?
Well, I mean, this is probably not the normal one, but this January, as I do most Januaries, is the time, or this new year is my diet time, which I'm sure many people share that philosophy. After, gorging myself for the last couple of months of the year, I then have to go on a fast. And this year, I also do dry January.
Oh,
So
wow, that's a tough one with 5 weeks of January this year.
I know. Well, it's gone really well, meaning I didn't break it. And I've actually lost some weight. So I've decided to keep it going through dry February. But I thought on publication day,
Yes.
I would break dry February.
Of course. I mean, if the one day you have to break it.
So I'm going to do that. That is what I'm going to have a martini.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much, McGarvey Black, for appearing on our channel and speaking to me. I'm sure our viewers are going to love getting to know you more. And like I mentioned before, we're going to include all the links at the bottom of this video. Thank you.
Thank you. It was so nice to talk to you, Tanuja.